welcome back to another episode of Next to Madison. On today's episode, I'm so excited. It's something that we all need. I'm talking to an empowerment coach and a motivational speaker to talk about really connecting with your angels. And I think a lot of people aren't really sure how to do this. I know that I'm not, but we all have these guardian angels and they're there to help us, but you need to learn how to access them so we can use them for our benefit, because the truth is we were put on this earth to prosper and live a wonderful, happy life. But unfortunately, with everything that kind of goes on, we forget that. So today's episode is very, very important for everybody. So with that being said, I want to bring on my guest so she can teach us all about this. As I said, motivational speaker, empowerment coach. She is also the founder of the Feel Good Express Lifestyle Program. I'd like to welcome Dede Lyons. How are you?
Fabulous. And thank you so much, Madison, for having me.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. So tell us about your Feel Good Express Lifestyle Program.
Okay, my Feel Good Express is a program where I teach people how to release worry, fear, doubt, frustration, all the lower vibrating emotions. And then I take them up to hope, and then eventually to joy, gratitude, compassion, and love. And how I do that is I help people, I give them tools to do every day. And I mean, those emotional feelings that are low on the vibration scale, it's life. It happens. You get sad, you get mad, you get angry. I don't recommend that don't feel them. You feel them, you be with them, you embrace them, and then I give you tools to release them so you can climb up to hope. And then, like I said, all the way up to joy and love.
Oh, God. Okay. So that brings so many questions, though. How does somebody start with this? Like, if they came to you and said, listen, I'm with all the stuff that's going on with this virus, I'm riddled with anxiety, I'm unemployed. How do you kind of start to get them on more of a positive trajectory?
Well, I have them tell me exactly what they're feeling, like with as much feeling as possible. So if you're anxious, tell me express all this anxiety, express it, fear, just like conjure it up, get it up. And then we talk about it and then start embracing it. And then the first big tool I give people, it came from a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I picked up this tool in 1995. She calls it the morning pages. I call it the morning papers, or maybe vice versa, but it doesn't matter. But what I do is I have you write down every single worry you have, even if you're worried about your roots coming in, anything that's going to block your creativity, your joy, doesn't matter. And you write, I'm mad about this, I'm worried about this, I'm sad about this. You have to say the feeling and feel it. And then after you do front, back, front of 3 pages, you shred it, you burn it, you get rid of it. So then you go right into gratitude. Like, do a gratitude list in the mirror. That's where I do mine. Instead of, when you're getting ready in the morning, so you don't have these lists of not tools, but chores to do. And so when you get into gratitude, it's very hard to be anxious. Try it. It's really, when you're so grateful, and once that list is done, they start rising up to hope. Now, they might go back the next day or that night to anxiety, but they can do that tool again. There's other tools I do, but that's like the main one, because you want to get them up and out.
So if somebody's listening at home and they're feeling anxious, this is something that they could do. They could write down all the anxious feelings, all the things that are worrying them, and then rip it up and burn it themselves.
Yeah, rip it, burn it. You don't have to burn it, but I shred it. Like on my classes, it feels good, or put it in the paper shredder and throw it in the garbage can. I'm done with this. Now, some of them seep back, but some of them don't. And I've been doing this for years and years. And my husband can even tell when I haven't done it. It's like, you're a little crazy. Or if I haven't put on one of my oils, he's like, honey, did you do your worry and doubt list? And did you put on your oils yet? And I'm like, no, I haven't. He goes, okay, get back in there.
Oh, so
yeah, it works.
That's awesome. So he holds you accountable, right?
Yeah, he can tell when something's askew or I didn't do my little tools. Because, I know that it's like if you want to get good at singing, you practice. You want to get good at yoga, golf, you practice, right? You want to get good at attracting joy and feeling good, you practice.
No, that's it's a brilliant way. So you talk about in getting in touch with your angels. When did you find it, like when in your life did you know you had this gift?
So I had a very heavy duty setback in my career in 1997, and they were collapsing my division. I had 15 people in it, and I was managing the green team, so to speak, was the name of the team. And they were collapsing it and spreading everybody. And I was like, oh my God, I don't like this. So I was so upset, and I because I wanted to still stay in sales management in New York City. And anyway, I got very upset, very mad, very angry, all low vibrating stuff, and got very vulnerable. And so when I went to my hairdresser, telling him all about this cute little boutique hairdressing place on 10th and University, I used to go all the time. It was really fun. Antiques, jewelry, and 4 guys that were just so fun. Anyway, so the girl next to me hears me telling this story. And at the same time, I headed out of my office. I went into 53rd and the Lexington Avenue subway, and there was Time magazine. The cover of Time magazine had an angel on it, and it had, "Is there a heaven? Do you believe in angels?" I'm going, Time magazine? That's all about business and news, not angels. So I bought the magazine. So talking to my hairdresser about this whole thing. And he was like, "Oh, Dede." And I was welling up and he was welling up. And then I started to talk about angels, and there's a woman sitting next to me. And she says, "Sorry to, eavesdrop here, but you need to get this book. It's called Angel Speak." And I was like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." And she didn't have the book at the time, by Trudy Griswold. And she lives in Connecticut. She gives angel readings. This is a perfect time for you to get an angel reading. So I was just looking at this chair. I was like, "Oh, okay, let me look into it." So that's how it all started. So I went for an angel reading.
And what did they say to you?
So what I did, I called her up, but before that, which was a huge miracle, in the front of the book, the preface, she had dedicated the book to her best friend, Chris Heisey. Chris Heisey had passed 2 years prior, and I went to her wake in Connecticut. And her husband was the president of the company I worked for at Petrie, and he was the one that had the messenger that just told me, "We're collapsing your division, and you can be a salesperson instead of a manager." So it was just, and Trudy had given the eulogy at the funeral.
Oh my
2
God.
years prior. I didn't even know, so all of that, I was just getting so many goosebumps. And that was like Easter weekend and leading up to it, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, all that. And I'm not that, religious, but I obviously believe in angels and a lot of things about Catholicism. But getting back to the story, then I knew these were all signs that I had to go and see her. And she connected me. She showed me how to connect to my angels. And she also, the following month, I think, she did a class, and I went and learned how to write. And so then I started journaling. And before you know it, they were just coming in to my writing. And I could tell because as I was writing, I was like, that's not my handwriting. That's going so fast, And I was like, ooh, I'm getting messages. When people say, "Are you really sure it's angels?" I said, it doesn't really matter, right? If you're getting messages,
True.
resonate, and they're good advice, go with it. And that's why I say unseen helpers. It could be a deceased loved one coming through. It could be an ascended master. It doesn't matter. As long as you just feel like, wow, there's unseen helpers out there.
And it's so true but what type of messages would they give you? Like, what did they say?
Well, usually what I would go in with is a problem or something I was thinking about doing, and I need help with this. What do you think? And they would come in with, oh, you could try this. And, so people are like, well, that's probably just your, knowledge, wisdom, higher knowing, because there are a lot of people who were skeptical about it, but they were giving me advice, really good advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of people will turn to like psychics.
Right. I've been to a couple, 20, 30 years ago, but yeah, I think that's good. But I think if you can do it yourself, why not? Because you really know, you have the higher wisdom, you have the higher knowing, in your body, you're in it all day long. So you've got the answer, but you have to realize you have to get rid of the muckety muck, the worry, doubt, fear, frustration, all that. So you can vibrate up here and hear it, feel it. And that's why, I'll tell you about the 4 clairs later, but it's so important to believe it. You have to believe it. If you go in writing and go, I'm not going to hear from any angels, I'm not going to hear from my deceased mother or whoever.
Yeah.
That's just never going to happen. Okay, you intended that.
Right. So you talk about the writing and the journaling. So you have a journal book that people can get on your website.
Yes.
Feel Good Journal, Connecting with Your Inner Child.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. This is so sweet. But I haven't written in it because I'm like, well, how do I do this? So let's talk about the journaling part. Like, how does somebody start and ask the proper advice for their angels or deceased loved ones to come in?
So, if you were, in session or in class with me, actually, I'm going to be doing a class. I've been doing every other Wednesday, a class at 12:30. It's a gift class from 12:30 to 1:30. And I'll send you a link to it. And I take people through the whole process. It's an hour session, but basically to start, the first thing you need to do is do that list of worry, doubt, fear, frustration. You got to get that up and out. Okay. So you start to feel calmer and grateful. So if you're in calmer and grateful, then you start writing. And I have, when I went to Catholic school, grade school, there's a prayer, Angel of God, my guardian dear. It's like 3 or 4 sentences. I get the person in that mode with dictating that prayer, write that. We have like nice, like maybe soft music, candle. It's got to be in a space where you have everything turned off.
Yeah.
Like a place where you would meditate is a good place to start. And then after you do the prayer, you just start saying, dear angels. And think of it as someone that loves you inside and out, no judgment, is rooting for you and can't wait to hear from you. So you get all like, oh, I'm so excited. I'll be talking to my angels soon. So it's that kind of mode. But if you go in with, oh, I'm going to try this and I'm just not going to, I'm not vibrating high enough or whatever it is, but yeah, that's how you start. And then you just say, dear angels, this is what's going on for me right now. I'm, sequestered, I'm quarantined, I'm anxious. I don't know what life's going to be like, hey, help me with this. What do you have any advice? And sometimes we'll come in, it's like, just be still, be grateful, focus on everything you love about yourself and all the people that you love in your life. And it's just, you might get some message like that.
Okay, so do you write down in the journal like what you're feeling, or do you write down what you're hearing from the angels?
I write what I'm feeling. Like, this is what's going on, angels. I have I did my worry and doubt list. I went to gratitude and I'm still anxious, which that happens a lot. And then when I'm writing, I'll write about I'll tell her all the details. Like, it's a best friend, like this happened and that happened. And now I'm going to do this podcast, but, I'm trying to heal my wrist because I broke my wrist and I've got all these things going on and I'm just overwhelmed. Help, and then once you got that out, it's a little more that you didn't get out on your worry and doubt list. And then you say, what, I want to make this big shift in my career, or I'm ready to move into a more rural environment, get out of New York City. I'm not trying to say to do that, but and then as you write, you'll see it comes in. And sometimes, like I said before, people might say, well, maybe that's your higher self. Okay, good.
Yeah, it could be higher self, angels. So the whole thing is like a lot of people hear is that when we're born and we come down, that we have like these angels that talk to us before and they're like, we'll be there. You won't know, but like we're watching you the entire time. So can you tell us more about like guardian angels and how we can, because some people will say like, oh, I was almost in an accident. Must have been my guardian angel.
Yes, exactly. Like the car's totaled, it flipped, and you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I feel that, you just feel it's the feeling that you're protected. I always feel I'm protected. I mean, I fell and broke my wrist and my right ankle on March 10th, but yeah, so I'm healing really, really well. But so I look for the aha, the gift, because they're not going to be obviously protecting you in every single situation, but most of the time I feel protected. And I know that this break that I had, these 2 breaks I had, could have been a lot worse. It could have been flat on my face, crushed my cheekbones, all kinds of things, and then you hear other people what they're going through. But for me, it helped me be more vulnerable. And that was what the aha was, because I thought I had to get perfect to help everybody out. Like, I got to get strong and positive and carefree and lively. I'm a mess. I'm crying. I'm on medication that I hate. And, I'm just feeling. So I decided to get out there and I made a little video, 3 minutes, and said, you haven't seen me for a while. And I had this aha moment because I was feeling so vulnerable and thought I had to be perfect to get out here and heal everybody and help everybody. But the best time to connect with people and heal them is when you're vulnerable. So
That's true. That does absolutely make sense. So, how many angels do you think each person has?
well, Trudy had told me when I did the reading with her, the woman that wrote the book Angel Speak, Trudy Griswold, she had said some people have 1, some people have 2. I don't know why that is, but she had given me 2 names for mine, Jeremy and Samantha. So I've been, I know she
Very
really did.
specific.
Really specific, yes. So of course, whenever I run into a Jeremy or a Samantha, I go, "Oh my God, you must be my angel! Come back to Earth." But yeah, so everybody's born with one, and that's the thing about when you're born and you're in that present moment all the time, and the sparkle and the light. That's why I take the baby picture out. And then you go to 1, 2, 3, and you hear a lot of kids go, "Oh, Mom, I saw a fairy," or there's people, like that butterfly was talking to me, and parents are like, "Well, don't be saying that in school," So
Right.
a lot of us were connected very early on, even pre-verbal, and then as toddlers and whatever, and then life happens, and you lose that gift of the fresh eyes, being in the moment.
Yes. And so are angels previous souls that have passed on or are
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
separate? Oh, they are.
Well, no, angels, I always think of angels as celestial beings.
Okay.
There are, I don't really feel like they were on the earth before. But when you delve into the archangels, there's 12 archangels, and 2 of them, Metatron and Sandalphon, say they walked the earth at one time. But the main ones that I usually focus on with the archangels, Michael for courage and strength, Raphael for health, and he's like the doctor, and then Gabriel for extra messages, and then Uriel for magic. So those are the 4 that I kind of talk about in my workshops. But getting back to angels, they're celestial beings that have always been celestial beings.
So when I pass on, I could end up being somebody's angel?
Um, you know what? I think more you might be somebody's spirit guide. Because I feel like when I do my writings, they
Uh-huh.
come in, my dad comes in and his mother comes in a lot.
Okay.
So those are people I don't think of as angels, but I think of them as like guides, protectors, giving me advice. Like I know and there's signs that come in. Like my father, his name was Riley, John Jack Riley. and he'll come in at his birthday or, you know, the day he passed. I'll just see something like, here, meet somebody named Riley in this, you know, just like at a party or event, and go. And then I met a dog named Riley. I was like, how many Rileys am I going to meet today? So I know he's around. So that's the fun part, when you start to see the signs, you know, like you're stressed out and you're driving, you're like, oh God. And then you see a license plate that says peace. And then you go,
Isn't that amazing? It's just amazing, right? So because you've been able to connect with your angels and live such a positive life, are you afraid to die?
sometimes. Yeah, I haven't really conquered that challenge, because I think I believe that I'm going to see the people that I'm soulmates with now, like my husband. My father was a soulmate. I had a Ishan for 17 years. She actually comes in my writings, Emily. So I feel like I'm going to see everybody again, but it's still very scary. Yeah.
It's the unknown, because we
Yes.
believe so hard what we want to, but you know, sometimes you have to see it sometimes, you know, and it can be a little tricky. How you've heard people have talked about things like being preordained or predetermined. What do you feel about that? Like when they're up there with their angels and they come down, they're like, you're gonna experience blah 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 blah. These are your lessons.
So people that know that ahead of time, you mean? Like, in other words, they come in and they just repeat that question a little bit. I
So
wasn't
meaning like some people think things are predetermined, right? Like
right.
before we're born, there's lessons that we discuss with our soul group or our angels that you're going to learn, that you have to learn while you're in human form before you go back. How much do you believe in that? And like,
Yeah, I do. And now that you're saying it, because I always say I've been here before a couple of times, and
yeah,
I had to learn some lessons. And sometimes you'll see a baby or I mean, just looking at you, I know you've been here before. This is, I don't know if
I,
your second or third time, but you've definitely been here before.
I feel like an old soul.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go. And you'll see you're definitely an old soul. Definitely. I can feel that right away. Ooh, getting a lot of angel bumps.
You're like, oh yeah, she's 600 years old.
Exactly. But look at her. She looks beautiful. She looks like she's 20.
Thank you, dermatologist. Well, thank you. But yeah, how do you get that? Like, what's the difference between when you meet somebody, if you're like, hey, you're an old soul versus somebody that you think is, okay, this is your first go around?
Usually I tell people that I can feel they're an old soul. Sometimes somebody has shown me they just, had a baby in the baby picture. Like, oh my God, that's so much wisdom coming out of their face. You probably have seen that with friends' babies, and you just know. And then, so I don't usually tell people this is your first time here, so it's going to be rough for you. But I
Buckle up.
right. You got like at least 3 more times to come back before you get it. So I don't tell people, but I often tell people when I feel that old soul connection.
And so what does that exactly mean? Like, if I'm an old soul, does this mean that I'm learning the struggles that I go through, which have been very minute compared to most people? It's like close to my last journey here? Or
Yeah, it could be. Like sometimes I feel like that for myself, because the first half of my life was very, very rough. A lot of divorce, alcoholism, all kinds of things. My mother divorced my father.
okay.
7. So, and then it was just a lot of drama, trauma, whatever. And then when I got into my 20s and started more on this kind of a path, and then eventually, met my husband 33 years ago, things just got better. So, but I worked at it to get better. So, now things are so good. Of course, my wrist.
Yeah.
I guess I think that I don't know if this is my last time. I'm not sure, but I feel like I'm in the throes of really learning things and learning how to release worry, doubt, fear, and frustration, and vibrate higher. I keep learning to do more of that. And then I realized that my path is to show people how to do that, because it's not that hard to do once you start doing it.
So you're like an angel yourself. You're a living angel.
Well, Earth Angel,
Earth angel.
I'm sure you're an Earth Angel too, with just doing this show and bringing great people on with, so much knowledge that needs to be spread. So yeah.
Yeah. So how do you, I feel like right now during this whole pandemic thing, we're getting so much information that's just, people don't know what to believe, and the politics are just so ugly. How do you, what would be your advice to people going through this to not get angry at politicians or the information that's being withheld, and how to kind of gain back control and not sabotage your relationships with people because they don't agree with you? I feel like that's what's happening now in the world.
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad that you're asking me that question, Madison, because I thought that my tools that I have and everything I help people with was really using it not during a pandemic. Like, this is stuff you use when you have regular life going on. So it's so it's so irregular. It's so much uncertainty. It's so scary. People are extra anxious. It's really, really, really tough out there. And for me, obviously I'm in this space, 65 plus, and I'm not in, have to be working all day to pay the mortgage and the bills. And, my husband and I are a different space, even though I was, intense career all my life. But so it's different for me, but still you need to still use the same tools, the meditation, being still, getting in nature, telling yourself how much you love yourself, focus on all the good. So it's still the same things. So you need them more now. And if you're getting pulled into the news too much, like we watch the news here every day, and it's, it's the Lester Holt 6:30 to 17 news.
Great.
And then late at night, it's like, between 9:30 and 11, we're watching Schitt's Creek. So,
Great show.
Right? So we can laugh before we go to bed.
Yeah.
But we know there's this serious pandemic going on, but we have to try to still do what we were doing before. And use tools to feel good. I mean, it's very scary. It's very different. I mean, obviously, we all know. So it's, what is life going to be like moving forward?
I know, because I am such I'm definitely an extrovert, and I'm also kind of a touchy person. Like, I like touching people.
Me too. I'm a big hugger. That's one of my tools. 3 hugs a day minimum.
I mean, this is going to be very difficult, until we eventually just forget about it, which I think will happen. I think things will just kind of bounce back the way they were in a year or so. We don't know though, but it's kind of one of those things. Like, I like touching people. Like, if you pat them on the shoulder, you give them a hug, or shaking hands. And I'm like, well, how am I going to tell people that they're great? I'm going to have to actually use my words.
Well, I've been hearing you got to really watch out and protect and look at the extroverts, because the introverts, have a few very introverted people that aren't that, I mean, they're upset about the pandemic, but not socializing, not hugging, not going to parties or events. They don't care. And me, like you, extrovert, I miss that social contact, hug, a girls' night out, seminars, lunches, just a fun walk with a bunch of friends, really. So that part, the extroverts, they said, are having a harder time than the introverts.
Yeah, and I'm trying to breathe a lot, and I've been good. I've been trying to kind of channel the time in a way, and channel my creativity and use it so I can come out on top when this whole quarantine thing is over. And but there's days where you feel like, I just wish it was last year or next year.
Yes.
I live in New York City. I only my favorite times in New York City is fall, summer and fall. And I'm like, wait a second, we might not have a summer. This is crazy. I was like, I could care less about New York City in the winter, I was like, oh gosh. Yeah. But so let's talk about the because you mentioned the clairvoyance. Can you go through those? Because I always butcher those names. So there's 5 of them that exist, right?
I think it's 4, or maybe there could be a 5th one, but when I look it up, I usually find the 4 clairs. Well, we'll make one up. We'll add a 5th one in there.
Okay, cool.
I like that. Okay, so there's clairvoyant, which is seeing clearly on a higher level. Then there's clairaudience, hearing very clearly on a higher level. I always say higher level because you're vibrating high and you're getting this crystal clear hearing. And then claircognizance, which is my main gift. It's crystal clear knowing. You just know. You don't know how you know, but you just know. And then the other one is clairsentious, and that's feeling, sensing, chills, goosebumps. That is one of the, I mean, I think a lot of people, okay, so let me make this clear. Everybody has all 4. And that's the way the angels communicate too, on a high vibration level. So when you discover what your main one is, I'm getting, like, for you, claircognizance. You just know. You just know.
But sometimes we don't want to listen to ourselves. Like, it's like that gut feeling where you're like, well, maybe I'm wrong. But as you get older, you're like, no, this is true. Like if you're going to go out with like a guy, I don't know about this guy. Instead, you're like, well, maybe it's just my anxiety. But usually.
Yeah, your first thought, you knew. So that's probably your dominant one. And then my second one that comes in a lot is audient, clairaudient. So hearing. And I get tons of messages, and I tell people, you get them in the water, in the shower, at the beach, the water, just dripping down on my head. I'm like, oh, getting messages. And it's great. Because then you're in that present moment in the shower. I always go in there and make it just me. I don't start thinking about what I got to do next or what I didn't do. I try to just make it like a really good experience because I know I'm going to get some good messages. Yeah. So those are the 2 main ones. So people are like, do you really hear it? It's just like a little whisper.
Right. So can you give us an example of something you've heard from them?
Yeah, like I remember when I was asking them what I wanted to move forward on a project, and it had to do with like doing, more webinars online, and I hadn't really done any. I did, I do privates through Zoom and Skype, but I had never done, workshop. So they would just say, be still. And I'd go, yeah, I know. Okay, I'm being still. I did meditate out on the balcony and I went for my nature walk, but really, how should I go about? Be still. They would just say, be still. And then as soon as I had this accident, I started doing the webinars. Like if you're in a hurry, because divine timing is different from our timing. I'm very driven and always in a hurry to get through my to-do list.
Yes.
And I have to work on my feminine, soft, be receptive, receiving. I'm all into producing, overachieving. I have to, because I did that for, 32 years in broadcast sales and marketing. So I had to really shift over to right brain. Yeah.
Which is
more of that. So anyway, so I get answers like that in the showers. They just kept saying, be still. I'm like, okay, be still. It's coming. Like, don't be chasing it, And when we wait, it's very sometimes hard for extroverts, driven people to wait. It's coming.
Yeah. And that's something that because everybody wants to be successful while they're still young, So they try to force things or there's this whole thing and for Hollywood, let's use Hollywood for an example, you're going to age out of Hollywood. And so it's this pressure and it's like, no, this is society BS that we've put on ourselves. But it's like the timing is always perfect. But sometimes we can't see it because we're like, ugh, why won't this happen?
Right. We're so eager to push it. I'm a pusher. So I have to go, be still. Because that's what I'm telling my clients or in my classes. Just be still. It's going to come. Just get in the flow and just believe it's coming. The unseen helpers. And that's another thing with unseen helpers. You have to ask them, angels, spirit guides, deceased loved ones, to help. specifically. I want this new job. I want it to start on June 1st. I want this salary. You know, you just keep making a list of everything you want.
So you need to be that specific?
Yes, with them. Very specific, very detailed.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the same thing. You want a soulmate to come into your path. You have to describe exactly how you want them to be, not how you don't want them to be. Like people will say, well, I don't want him to be cheap. I don't want him to not be fit. I don't want him to not. I was like, oh, wait. I want him to be fit. I want him to be generous. I want him to be fun loving. Like this, I don't want somebody who can't dance. Forget it. Like, wait a minute. I want somebody who can dance. So it's always what you want, because the universe hears the words. So if you're saying, I don't want this, but I want that, they're like, what?
Right, they get confused.
Yes.
So it kind of goes into the law of attraction a little bit too.
Yes, very much. Esther Hicks, I follow her. I read her, you know, the law of attraction, and then also Ask and It Is Given. It's my Bible book. When you come to see me for a session, get that book, because it's all about how you vibrate, and what you think about, you attract.
So here's the thing. The name of the book is what? Ask and You Shall Be Given, right?
Ask and It Is Given.
Okay. So what I think where people might lose faith or get confused is that they'll ask for something and then it doesn't show up. How do you give the advice to be like, it's coming, stay in faith so you don't lose it?
Okay, so what I say is you ask for what you want, believe it's coming,
Okay.
start to feel like it happened already, the feeling you would have if it happened, the new job or the new soulmate, like that feeling, woo, this is great. So you act like it happened. Then you let it go. And then you say, please bring this in for my highest good. And sometimes what happens is they bring something in better than what you asked for. So that's where like the law of detachment comes in, where you detach from it. Like you really let it go. You don't sit there and go, okay, I tried that. I put hearts in the romance corner. I wrote out the list. Nothing's happening. What's going on here? You know,
right.
Because then you went into disbelief, impatience, frustration. You have to really just know that something's coming in for your highest good. But like you just said, you might miss it because you're not in receptive mode. Ask, believe, receive, right? You ask for it, you believe it. And then it comes in, but you miss it because you're all worked up about something else. You miss it.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why they say attachment is a bad emotion.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're human. We get attached to things and people, but it's how attached. And that's that personal boundary with people or things. And just, I help people with that a lot because I had it myself, the boundaries where you end and they begin. Like if my mother was in a mood, I'd be like worried about that mood. Like it must be happening because of me. If I had a boss that was cranky, I must have put my boss in that. So I had a lot of that earlier in life.
Okay.
So I had to do work with boundaries. And that's, something that can get in the way of receiving.
Interesting. Okay, so don't take on people's emotions because it's not always about you.
Yes, most of the time it's not. So if your mother is depressed or your dad is angry or your spouse or, best friend, you be compassionate and kind and loving and maybe, try to cheer them up a little bit or whatever you do, but don't absorb it.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, you're responsible to make them less depressed. That goes on your angel to-do list, actually. There's a to-do list for you. Go to the gym, go to Whole Foods, pay the rent. And then for the angels, can you bring in my pet, make me feel really positive and good and help me attract that soulmate that I've been wanting to attract for a long time? And help me with that. Can you help my mother with her depression? Because you can ask your angels to talk to her angels, or anybody's angels and say, can you work on them? Can you soften that client? They're really cranky all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I ask my angels to lower rents in New York City?
Yeah, find you, yeah, lower rents, yeah, the whole city. Well, you can.
We're living in boxes. Let's change that.
Well, I would think they're going to come down a little bit, right? Because I
They
mean,
have to.
some people aren't even, I'm hearing, paying rent. Like some landlords, 60% of their building is paying the rent. So it's,
I know.
yeah.
It's crazy. But I know that like we'll get through this and you know, do you believe that everything happens for a reason?
Sometimes, sometimes.
Yeah, because sometimes it looks like people are thinking, why did this happen? How did it get so bad? And, you know, you got to look at maybe some of the upside is that, you know, our planet's healing a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the planet's getting a huge cleanse.
And the animals, they must be like, this is amazing.
No, like people can see the Himalayan mountains from 100 miles away now. And the Venice canals are blue again.
I know, but it's just unfortunate that we had to
Oh,
lose
yes.
so much to see that. But, you know, maybe it'll be like kind of a wake up call, so to say. So, you use the angels, you teach people how to use the angels to like attract what they want. Um,
Mm.
can you give us an example of how they can use the angels to attract the income they want?
Okay, so I would ask put specifically what you want. Like, so if you're already in a job and you want to raise, or if you want more clients, put specifically what you want. Like for you, I don't, well, for example, how would you do it? You would ask to have more clients, more advertisers on your show, or?
To have my TV project sold.
Okay. So that's what you would put down. Okay, I would like to have my TV project sold. I would like it to sell for this amount. I would like it happen by July 1st. And I also want it to be somebody, maybe you want to connect with these people. Will you stay with these people when your project is sold, or will you step out?
I'll stay.
You'll say, okay, so I want these people to be like-minded and be fun and professional and productive and inspirational, just like me. And you put everything you want, and then it becomes this sacred sheet of paper. It could be in your journal or wherever, but then I would leave it out. So have it on your desk or your nightstand or your credenza, so you see it. You always see it. And then you go to that same thing that we talked about earlier, feeling it, acting as it's happening.
Right.
And then go, okay, I know you're going to bring this in for me, angels. Thank you. Just bring it in for my highest good. Because sometimes things we want, like people are, oh, I have to win the lottery and I need like, $10 million. Come on, the angels, aren't they going to do that for me? But what I say is,
Good question.
it would be great, right? But I always say they'll bring in what's for your highest good. So the people that are going to buy your TV project are going to be for your highest good, because that's what you want.
Yes.
That's
So
what you want.
what's the difference between like when they say the law of attraction, like it can be very sticky because it's either they say like it's I have and then what you expect or I expect versus I want. The
Okay.
language is so tricky.
Okay. So I read that book a very long time, maybe like 10 years ago or whatever. But so is it out that long? I remember reading it.
I forgot somewhere.
So want and expect. So you're always wanting for your highest good. So you grow, meaning your highest good, their highest good. So that's what you want to attract. It's not always about the dollar amount, because sometimes I'll say, okay, you have a job over there that's offering 100,000. You've got one over here that's 125, but the one for 100 might be the one you grow the most with. You love the best. You have like just really nice hours. You're able to meditate and play and do all your other things. The other one for the extra 25 could be, working you to the grindstone. You be stressed out. They're not the kind of people you want to really interface with and grow with. So I always say, bring it in for my highest good. Bring those people in.
Oh, that is key, because sometimes I think people would normally just take the most money because money gets us through life.
Yes. And money is very important.
Very.
I say it all the time, but it depends like how much is worth your being stressed out, not feeling physically, spiritually, emotionally balanced. So there's that, I think, is the most important part of it.
Right. No, that makes sense. Absolutely. And what about, is it similar for attracting a soulmate? Because I'm
Yeah.
single. Maybe you can help me out here.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I can. And I even have a class for it. Some people just come to me just for that, attracting the love you deserve, attracting the love you desire. And it starts with self-love.
Right. I've heard that.
It really does. Because I learned to love myself at age 30.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, my mother wasn't able to love me. Her mother didn't love her. They loved us, but nobody shared it. Nobody was hugging or kissing or, I didn't have all that. So I went to therapy at age 30, and I said to the therapist, I have all these things going for me. If you looked, you're like, she's fit, she's fun, she's got a great job, she's this, that. But I was always picking the wrong guys because I was okay with crumbs, because I got crumbs as I was growing up. So I said, I know there's a hole inside, so I got to learn to love myself. Can we do it? Can I learn to love myself at age 30? And she said, yeah, absolutely. So 3 years later is when my husband came in. But if he would have come in 3 years prior, I wouldn't have noticed him.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it's just it's one of those things where I think if you really love yourself, you're not afraid. You're not afraid to communicate properly if things don't work for you. I think people get to a point where maybe they say like, okay, I'm getting older, like I don't want another breakup, I'll
Right.
just deal with it and kind of dance around it. But that's not self-love. That's almost.
Yeah. And self-love is, I say it like a cake, the layers. I learned to fill all my layers up with Dede loving Dede. And
Yeah.
so when Joe came in, he was the frosting and the candles on the cake. So I wasn't looking for him to fill me up with love that I was missing from my mother or your father. Some of us grow up with low self-esteem or not enough self-love because they didn't get filled up. So I learned to fill myself up. So when you're filled up, that person that comes in just enhances, they're not responsible for keeping you happy. You know how to keep yourself happy and loved. They just come in and sparkle it up.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think it's because a lot of my friends who have like gotten married and stuff, they told me, they said, when you know. And for a single person, you're like, that is the worst thing you could, like, what do you mean? What if you miss it? They're like, no, you know. And my friend Terry was like, if you don't get the feeling like this is my husband, I can't live without this person, when you meet them, walk away and stay single for the rest of your life because it's not worth it. And I'm like, this is confusing. I'm very confused.
Well, I think it for me, it actually happened later. I was friends with my husband, and he was one of the first people I was friends with before we got dating and intimate. So I always say it's because he was nothing like anybody else. So I knew something was good going on because he wasn't like the other people I was picking. Because I used to be like, oh, if they like me more than I like myself, forget it. You know what I mean? Like, did I say that right? Wait, if they like me
More than
like them, sorry. That's a good Freudian slip. If they like me more, oh my God, they're like needy, sappy. But if I like them more than they like me and they had one foot out the door, that's the guy. That's who I would pick. Because
before you loved yourself.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would pick that because it would be nice. They're non-committal. I'm non-committal too. They got one foot out the door. Oh, that's cool. If they like me too much, ooh, scary. Let me get away. Needy.
Right.
When I learned to love myself, I was able to attract someone who was kind of like, it was even. He wanted me to see me as much as I wanted to see him. No games, and it was very different.
Yeah, and that's what they say.
From a different space. So I don't think it has to be the minute you meet him, you just know he's your husband, he's your soulmate. And if it's not, like, keep going. Because I've had clients and friends that had people that were not anything like their type. And then they just grew into this beautiful friendship and then got married. So I think it's the other way. I think it's a gradual.
Yeah, it's just so it's I know. Life it's weird because I feel like we complicate life
Mm-hmm.
in a way, right? And it can go to that. Like he has to meet or they or she or whatever, whoever's, for you is listening, like they have to meet certain criterias, but I think we have to just go with for me, people used to say like, oh, what's your type? And I was like, oh, somebody that's like driven, successful, good looking, like a lot of the other, outside types of
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, I can't give you that list because it's the feeling I'm looking for, like
Right.
how I feel when I'm around them. So I can't sit there and say to my friend, oh, I'm looking for this because I don't know.
Right. Well, I like that you're saying that. It's the feeling. And it's also that somebody's really listening and somebody gets you. Like I have friends that tell me, he doesn't get me, he just doesn't get me. I'm going to move on. Or they meet somebody who gets me, totally gets me. He's listening. He's really interested. So I think that's big, that part. And the feeling, of course, I like that you say that. It's the feeling I get. Because that's the feelings give us the answers. This up here about being successful, driven, financially abundant, all these extra things, which are great, is coming from here. But if you come from here, and that's what you were saying, you're talking about what you feel in your heart when you're around this person.
Yeah, it's kind of like, do you feel calm or do you feel anxious? Do you feel you're not good enough? Do you feel you are? It's a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
kind of different things. But so what is your angelic connection mantra?
Okay, so I always say when I'm, right when I get into the angels and how I want to connect with them and attract them, I just ask them to come in, protect me, guide me, and steer me on the path of my highest good.
Okay, and then you just kind of let it go.
Yes. Like angels, like even in the morning, like when I first wake up, I just go, okay, angels, whisper in my ear, what is it that I need to do today or whatever? And they just say, keep loving yourself. That's a big one. I get love is the answer. I'm like, okay. Even if you wake up a little worried or cranky, I go right in to talk to them. But I'm always asking them to guide me and to attract and be around people like you that are put them in my path for my highest good.
Right, absolutely. And so you sent me this angel stone.
Yes.
So where can people order this?
This is actually on my website too, along with my journal,
Okay,
fieldexpress.com.
feelgoodexpress.com.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I love these angels. I give them out on planes, trains, everywhere I go. I always have a couple of extras. And I have also smaller ones, little pocket angels. But basically, it's all about being reminded that we do have these unseen helpers around us. And whenever we get this huge worry or this huge anxiety, which we're all having right now,
Yeah.
just hand it over. Angels, I really need help now. Can you take over? Thank you. And then, put it back in your pocket and go, okay, I'm on to the next thing. But really hand that over. Like people are like, hand it over. What do you mean? How can I just, I'm tired of being anxious. I want to go over here and meet you can't meet a friend, but I want to go for a walk.
Well, you could. It's 6 feet away, right?
Exactly. So,
And
yeah.
so what is the main takeaway you want the listeners to kind of know about connecting to their angels?
I want them to know how easy it is. And I really want them to know it's ask, believe, and receive.
That's
And
it.
Yeah. And one last thing, believe it before you see it
Right.
or hear it or feel it.
You're right.
Really believe it.
Okay. So even if it's like a crazy big opportunity and you're just like, so you don't really have to know the how. You just have to be like, no, angels, you got this. You're going to guide me on my
Yeah.
way to get that door
Yeah.
open.
If it's for my highest good, get my TV show with those people over there. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you working on that.
So it's important to say it because you've mentioned this a few times in our conversation, if it's for my highest good.
Yeah. I always say highest good because some people are like, oh, I didn't get that job. I thought I was going to get it. I can't believe it. And then something better comes in a month or two later.
Not always true. I think
Yeah.
that's where that phrase comes from. Like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. Well, really, it's just the angels working for your higher good.
Yeah. There's something better out there always if you don't get something.
And it always works that way because, I mean, you hear people talk all the time like, oh, we just wanted this house or wanted that job and it didn't work out. We didn't get it. And then 6 months down the road, like, oh, we're so happy that didn't happen.
Yeah. It happens
You
so much.
hear it all the time. I don't think I've ever heard somebody say, yeah, I got this crappier job instead and this shittier house. And if they do feel that, they're not mentioning it. I can tell you that.
Exactly.
It's always something was wrong with the house or,
Yeah.
maybe like the job wasn't right for them or they closed or something. It's always that, I'm so glad that didn't happen. Like even with past relationships, I thought like, oh, if I had
Mhm.
just loved myself more during that time,
Mhm.
it could have been such a different outcome. But now I look at it and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen for me because I don't feel I would have been able to put the drive and dedication and focus into my work that's making me so happy at the moment,
Yes.
you know? So I see
Hmm.
it as like, wow, that was a blessing in disguise.
Yes. And I think that's something big that's going on now for all of us. Aren't we sitting at home and having a little bit more time to reflect and really think about what brings us joy, what makes us feel good, and we're simplifying things. We're spending more time at home. And I mean, some of it is a real like rebootment, resetting what you want to do moving forward in your life.
Yes. And I think that, you've heard a lot about, New York City, obviously, because there's so many cases there and things are just crazy. But people, I think, kind of waking up and realizing, like, wow, like maybe living in a city isn't for me. And so you're hearing about like a mass exodus out of the city, or I was sacrificing so much just to live in the city when I could have so much more elsewhere and like peace of mind. So I think a lot of people are realizing like they don't have to do what's cool, so to say.
Right.
They have to do what's best for themselves. So if living on a farm in Montana is good for you, then that's cool.
Right.
Because I'm kind of going through that thing too, where I'm like, hmm, is New York City even worth it? Like, I love it, but
Mhm.
is it healthy to live like that? And that's where I think a lot of people are starting to feel.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I love New York City. I was there from 7 all the way up to age 54 in
Wow.
Manhattan. Went to school there, loved it. I'm such a city girl. That's why when I moved to Florida, I was like, what? I had to learn how to drive. People are going, wait, you're going to Florida? You don't sit in the sun, you're afraid of bugs, and you don't drive. So it's like, yep, that's where I'm going. But New York, yeah. I mean, there's so much excitement there and the energy and all of that, but there are sacrifices that you have to make. And now the
Mhm.
museums and the theater and all those great restaurants don't open back up. Then you're like,
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. So I think it's just like I'm in Colorado right now. I escaped the city and came out to Colorado, and you just see so many. But this is one of the states where I think like people are going to move to from these
well,
like big cities
yes, exactly.
because you just get more space. And I think that's what this pandemic's kind of teaching people is that maybe we do need a little more space in our lives.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it'll come to, and you can, that's a big thing to ask the angels for, like, where am I going to thrive the best?
That's a good one, because I don't know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, the more you ask for it and think about it a little bit, things will start coming in your path that goes, I need to go back to New York, or I need to stay in Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you ask for it, like, what's the highest good? What's the best for me? Put people and situations in your path that give you little answers to that step. Because when you're on a journey, people want to go, this is how I am. I want A, B, C, D, E, and F, and know exactly all the steps to get me there. And they're like, no, Dede. In each step, you get the answer for the next step.
It's so true.
But I help people with that, and I have to remind myself, Dede, one step at a time, girl.
Right, exactly. So, okay, so we do have to wrap up. I mean, this has been amazing. So what's kind of the before you get into where everybody can find you, like, what's the main takeaway you want people to know about the angels? Like connecting with your angels.
Yeah, I guess it really is how easy it is. And I feel as if I know it's going to make you feel better. Even if you're writing, you're like, I'm not connecting. Just the journaling and writing to someone that loves you inside and out with no judgment and can't wait to hear everything you've got to say. It's kind of like an angel therapist, right?
Yes.
But even better, because you can just write and be yourself. So I just want people to know that you're protected, you're guided, and just know that it's easy.
And not worry so much.
Yes, exactly. Hand it over as much as you can. Get an angel stone or get anything that, like I have one of these crystals that I love, and
okay.
over to a crystal. I have aromatherapy that helps me, with my moods and things like that. Find little tools that'll just help you connect with your angels, but also connect with you and your higher self.
Right, exactly. And do you do angel readings at all?
Yeah, I actually do. What I do, it's different from what I did with Trudy, where somebody would come in and I'd tell you who your guardian angel names are and all that. But I help you connect with your angels for sure. How to write, how to journal, how to vibrate high. Yes.
And so your website again, because I know you mentioned it for the stone, but let's mention it one more time so people can go and find you and sign up because you do online courses.
Yes, online courses. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to start doing more, but right now, like, I'm doing them every other Wednesday. But that's a gift right now, because I really want to give back to the community and help people as much as I can with this huge uncertainty and worry and doubt that permeates everyone's life right now.
Right. No, exactly. And so it's feelgoodexpress.com. Okay. And what about like other social channels? Like, where can they follow you? Do you have an Instagram page?
Yeah, Instagram page. And I also have a Feel Good Express Facebook page.
Okay.
And, yep. So you can find me really easily. Feel Good Express, Dede Lyons. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. And you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to it on a podcast platform, you can also go to our website, which is nexttomadison.com, and you can click on her episode, and we will have all the links that will take you directly there, so you can find everything very easily and get in touch with her so she can help guide you on your path. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show and helping me with my anxiety that I was having this morning.
Well, thank you for having me. It was such a treat. I really feel grateful.
Yeah, likewise. And you guys, thank you so much for listening to another episode of Next to Madison. And we'll see you guys next time to find out who's next.
Hi, your host, Madison Malloy here. I just wanted to remind you guys to please follow the show on social media at Next to Madison. And if you have any questions or suggestions for the show, or you feel that you would be a great guest on the show and would love to be considered, please feel free to email me at nexttomadison@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms. And I thank you again for listening.